Now we're in conversation with the man behind Mobikwik, Bipin Preet Singh, an ITN by educational background and someone who quit his comfortable job at a multinational company to kickstart his startup. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you
so much.
Pleasure to be here.
Now Bipin, not a lot of information is available out there about you, and the first bit, I guess, which a lot of our viewers will find perhaps surprising is the fact that you're ably assisted by one of the very few founders who are ably assisted by his wife,
yes,
who is a co-founder for Mobikwik,
yes,
and on the team.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about the association, how you met her, and how did the idea of Mobikwik come about?
So actually, Upasana and I met socially when we were actually watching a play.
Right.
And it was a sort of a common interest.
Right.
And we were watching a play about women.
Okay.
And it was a comedy play, and we just instantly hit together. And thereafter we just connected socially.
Right.
And we.
And this was right after college?
No, actually
you guys were working?
This is actually I was still working, and she had just come back from US.
Right.
And there were no Google Maps at that point of time.
Right.
And she was looking for directions. I was the one who was given the task to actually give her directions on the phone on how to get to that India Habitat Center.
Okay, so technology has been playing a great part in your life, personally or professionally.
Yes.
Right.
And so we connected, and then we started Mobikwik, and it's been a great journey so far. I think there are a lot of pros and cons of working with your wife as a co-founder. I think we are one of the.
You want to talk about the pros and then maybe the cons?
Well, I mean, see, I think the biggest challenge is just to balance the personal with the professional.
Right.
I think when you're working in a startup, you're just raising a baby, right? And you're trying to take it from birth to adulthood. Right. And that's a lot of hard work. Separating the personal and the professional becomes a huge task, because when you go home, you're still thinking about business.
Right.
You're still thinking about when the next hire, or about the next fundraise, or about tomorrow's meeting. I don't think I recommend this to anybody. It is pretty difficult. Right. And the good thing is that we come across still as professional, and there are common professional friends who discovered after 1 year or 2 years that Bipin and Upasana are actually married to each other.
Yes.
Whereas we had already met them 4 or 5 times.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, I think we are able to maintain the professionalism in office and still continue to have I would say, a happy married life.
So it was Upasana's apartment where it all started. And so tell me about those days, how it was, how difficult or easy it was, initially at least.
So we used to live in Kalkaji, which is one of the posh South Delhi localities. And we figured out that the company had just started, so we didn't have money to pay rent as well. Yeah,
because you put in like about what, 25 lakhs from your savings, and
we had put in money to just start off the company, and we decided that let's just move to Dwarka, we'll just reduce rent. Right. And then we'll figure out, can we survive within, let's say, 15 or 20,000 rupees of income between both of us.
And we're talking about 2008, 2009?
We're talking about 2010. Yeah. And we figured, we looked at that as a challenge. Right. And we saw that, because we had not raised any funding, and we were putting in our own money towards the venture, but we were able to successfully do it.
I will want to talk about money, of course, and funding. But before that, I will want to talk to you about Rourkela, which is where you come from before your parents shifted to Delhi. And back there, your father had a shop. Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
And during the 84 riots, the shop was ransacked. Yes. Tell us about those days. Do you remember? How old were you back then?
Of course. I was about 5 years old when that incident happened. But my father was basically a shopkeeper. He was a businessman. But in the 1984 riots, that shop was actually burnt down completely. Right. We tried to work around it.
You said?
I was 5 years old.
And could you register all that?
I remember living in the camps. Right. And we had attackers who had come to our house, because there were not that many Sikhs in Rourkela, and we were one of the well-known ones. So at night we had to move out with police protection, and we had to go in and live in a camp. I don't forget that. I completely remember staying in those camps for about 2 days, and then discovering that our shop was, completely burnt down. We tried to recover from it financially. But I think once that incident happened, our business really never recovered. But what I learned at that time was, my father was actually in search of a job, and he actually then came to Delhi, and he found a job in Delhi. And I used to be, along with my mother, sit on the shop after school and before school hours, and actually, take cash for selling books. It was a book shop, actually. So we used to sell books and read a lot of books as well, and sell them and take the cash and make sure that I'll collect that cash and hand it over to mom, when she would come to the shop. So it was tough, but it was, I think it was a great learning experience for me.
Right. Financial recoveries can be made. Is there any effect of, the person that you have become now, a successful, yeah? In what way?
I think one thing, I'm very, very resilient. And it actually shows in the company that I've built. So it's been, 5-6 years since I've been running this company. From investors to partners to everybody who we work with today, at some point of time they have written off Mobikwik, and they have written off Bipin and Upasna, because they think that, oh, there is competition, oh, the ecosystem is changing, oh, this is happening or that is happening, or some other company has raised so much money. But as you can see here today, Mobikwik continues to thrive. And the only reason it continues to thrive is that we are very, very resilient. We worked hard, and we focused on the right things.
Strength comes
from
what you saw
we just
early.
don't give up. We just don't give up.
Yeah.
And it's a very famous line. It's one of my favorite movies called Rocky. Sylvester Stallone, where he has this famous dialogue where he says that it's not about how many times you can hit in boxing. It's about the number of times you can take the hit and still get up, which determines a winner.
And we were talking about funding earlier, and at this point in time, if you look at your direct competitors, so to speak, for instance, Paytm, well, they got a huge round of funding not very long ago, been hardly a month. And in terms of number of users, if you see, they are sitting at about 80 million users, and Mobikwik has about 25 million, and you have the target of sort of having like a 6-fold jump and being at like 150 million. That's what your target is for the recent future. So why would you say that this kind of sort of because Paytm almost started on the same time, slightly before, but in the same league. So where do you think this is coming from, this kind of difference?
So I think, personally speaking, I think, so I have tremendous regard for what Paytm has been able to do. As far as numbers are concerned, I think numbers are relative, and what we look at is how many users we have really who are transacting on a monthly basis. All these counts about 80 million, 25 million. There is a lot of, I would say there is a lot of ambiguity about it as well.
So how do you look at this situation? Do you look at it in terms of potential, which is unrealized, in the sense that you're already sitting there? You have the numbers in terms of users, number of transactions, etc. You have the revenue stream as well. What you haven't gone for yet maybe, or are talking about, because of course, you're looking to raise about between $50 to $100 million this year, and so that's unrealized potential. That's all that it is. Nothing more than that.
Yes, there is nothing more than that, and it's just a process. I think the companies needs to get to a certain level, and then the growth gets unlocked automatically.
So will it be safe to say that Mobikwik is going the Paytm way, in the sense that they have become a full marketplace, full-fledged marketplace, while initially they were only a platform where you can go and pay your bills, utility bills, etc., which Mobikwik still obviously does. So are you saying you're going the Paytm way?
No, we are not.
And how is it different?
Mobikwik has a lot of focus right now to build just the payments business, and I think payments is extremely critical. We're doing multiple things
to get a payment bank license.
So we have applied for it,
right?
And I think we will get it in due course of time. It is just a matter of time.
Right. Okay, now moving on, right after you were done with your education with IIT, you were thinking, I'm taking you back. From funding, I'm taking you back there, because I want to get this bit of information out as well, because a lot of people who watch the show, are youngsters, people between 18 and 36. So you were looking to do an MBA. And there was also talks about the fact that perhaps, there was not enough money that the family had to sponsor your education. So tell us about that. Why you dropped the idea of MBA.
I'll take you to a time before that, when we actually moved to Delhi. The entire family moved to Delhi in about 1993, and we used to be a family of 5 people living in one room, which was about 200 square feet. I actually got admitted into IIT twice. I used to fund my own education by doing tuitions. And when I got into IIT the first time, I actually got admission into IIT BHU, which is a Banaras Hindu University. and we didn't have the money to pay for hostel fees.
Right.
So I dropped out, took admission in Delhi College of Engineering. We also had an admit, which the fees was lower, but there was this internal thing that you know I have one life, so I need to go to IIT. I gave the exam again, and next year I got into IIT Delhi. And because it was in Delhi and we were living in Delhi, and that's how, so it wasn't actually in second attempt I got into IIT Delhi. And even while I was at IIT, I was just doing tuitions, and I was actually one of the main breadwinners of the family during that time. And so when I've seen those times, post that, everything else has been easier.
Right. But didn't you think twice before leaving that job, because you were the sole breadwinner of the family?
Yes.
So did you think twice? I mean, going the
well,
startup way?
I think if I had thought too much, I wouldn't have been able to do it. It was really a spur of the moment decision.
Another interesting thing is the fact that a lot of experts are looking at this boom, startup boom, so to speak, in the country as a bubble, waiting to sort of, burst. They're comparing it with the IT boom of the late 90s, early 2000s, and so on and so forth. And people like Mark Cuban, people like, an entrepreneur himself, and even experts like Mr. Jhunjhunwala have said that valuations at this stage, most of the startups that he can think of, and that's his quote, that I'm quoting from what he said, that most of the startups are overvalued at this stage, and there's going to be a correction, and at this point, at these valuations, I will not invest my money in any of these startups. How do you respond to that?
I don't completely agree. I think, there is a lot of difference between what happened in the US internet boom, late 90s and early 2000s, versus the internet that happened in India also between 2005 and 10, versus what has happened post 2010, and especially in the last 2-3 years. I think there is a real business being generated by most of the startups. While many would say that some of these companies, like for example doing grocery delivery or food ordering or any such categories, they are being overvalued. I think there is a real change in consumption. There is a real adoption of consumers that is happening for transactions. Right. And so this is core business. Now, while you can say that it can be valued at X or 10X at any given point of time, nobody can deny that this is a permanent shift that is already happening. So I don't necessarily agree.
My last question, any advice for youngsters?
I think if you feel that you have the passion to start something, right now is the best time. So I think, if you're a youngster, if you're in college, if you're just passing out of college, learn how to code, find out what are the good, interesting problems to attack, both for B2B or B2C. Right. And I'm sure India is a huge opportunity right now, and there is a wave of adoption that is happening in terms of technology and smartphones. So you can really build a big business.
Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for your time.